Do you remember the smoke that was blown so enthusiastically up our collective rear ends when politicians and car makers jump-started us so enthusiastically on the road to electric utopia? EVs were simpler, they said, and the only problem with that is, of course, that they're not. They're just complex in a different way. You'll save money, they said, and the only small problem with that is, of course, you won't. But the icing on the cake, at least for me, remember when they said they require virtually no maintenance? Remember that one? And yeah, dude, it turns out that that is also a birthday cake comprised entirely of bullshit. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, new cars cheap, but Australia only. Website, cut! Got an email from a dude named Peter Simons yesterday, arvo. But for the sake of this report, I'm going to refer to him as Tarzan, mainly because the email concerned his GF Jane. Now, Jano is the proud owner of a 2021 MG ZS EV, which was, at the time, pretty much a discount electric SUV. It's currently got 40,404 Ks on the clock, and quite unexpectedly, the service indicator just lit up on her the other day. So she trotted off to the dealership, in this case, Brighton MG, sort of down there, in Lockdownistan. They promptly serviced it, even though the official service interval wasn't up for another 3 months, so thanks a lot. Apparently, they did not find a reason why the service indicator came on. If they did, it's not in the documentation. They appeared just to reset the light, but they did manage to charge her $905 for a service that wasn't due for like 3 months on a magical net zero chariot that obviously requires, quote unquote, virtually no maintenance. This is the price of being an early adopter, I suppose. It's the wonder bra of ownership experiences, when you think about it. Like, you sign up for the private show, right? The establishment takes your cash, they close the curtain, and you obediently undo the clasp as instructed, but try as you might, you can't find those damn corgis anywhere. This report is sponsored by NordVPN. Get big savings plus 4 extra months of Nord for free right now in Nord's exclusive birthday deal. Go to nordvpn.com/AEJC. Online security threats are everywhere, but you do not have to be the next victim. That's where NordVPN comes in, locking everything down efficiently in the background. Go to nordvpn.com/AEJC now. Every 2-year NordVPN plan receives that huge discount, plus a coupon that entitles you to 6 free months, which you can use to extend your subscription, or you can even give it to a friend. nordvpn.com/AEJC. Link in the description. Using NordVPN is easy. Just subscribe, download the app and connect. 1 click later, your IP address is shielded and your traffic will be encrypted across as many as 6 of your devices. Nord is the fastest VPN on the planet. It costs only about as much as 1 cup of coffee every month to keep your data, your identity, and your devices secure. Masking your location means you'll be able to access streaming and other services that might be blocked where you live. Plus, you can continue to watch your favourite content when you travel. Go to nordvpn.com/AEJC now. Boost your security, get that huge discount, and enjoy those extra months completely free. It's all totally risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. It's easy to stay safe online. Just visit nordvpn.com/AEJC now. Okay, so MG is a top 10 car retailer in Australia, and therefore, on my world, they no longer deserve the benefit of the doubt. They've rocketed into the big league in no time flat. It seems they're the first Chinese brand to run with the big dogs from Japan and South Korea in this way. Soon to be joined by GWM, it seems. Jano procured her MG ZS EV in 2021. It's an Essence, so it's got a 130 kilowatt electric motor and a 50 kilowatt hour battery. Hers is less than 4 years old at this point, and according to Redbook, it has burned more than half of the retail price, including on-roads, as a trade-in. So the depreciation has probably cost her about $140 a week. Of course, that bonfire of the vanities does not alight properly until you sell it, right? It's got a 20,000 kilometre, 12-month service interval, whichever comes first. So the 4-year, 80,000 kilometre service was due at that time in about 3 months. And happily, I've been handed the invoice, which is very interesting indeed. You'd think this would be a cheap, fairly perfunctory process, servicing it in the circumstances, but dude, it is not. In round figures on that bill, there's $500 in labour for this car that requires virtually no maintenance, and nearly $300 in consumables, if you believe the dealership. The overwhelming majority of the labour boils down to, we looked at stuff, including the windscreen, like, dude, yeah, still there. The seats, ditto, still there, check. Quote, air conditioning system components, ditto, still there. And, quote, checked windscreen washer fluid level. What a great pity they didn't find time in their horrendously expensive servicing schedule to refill the fucking washer bottle. Despite all these so-called system checks, the car was handed back with old wiper blades still on, which Jano specifically asked to be replaced, and the washer fluid bottle completely empty. That's Tarzan there. Well done, Brighton MG. Great work, dudes. There's also no mention of any investigation into why the fucking service light actually came on in the first place, so there's that. We just turned it off kind of thing, so problem solved. I am rapidly forming the view that the entire servicing invoice, including the 39-cent, quote, washer-trans, the $1.04, quote, washer-AL, and the $1.22, quote, washer additive, which is probably waiting as faithfully as fucking Lassie back at the dealership in a bottle for the return of Jano next time she wants to be touched up in exactly this way. I'm forming the view that the whole thing is a giant fucking cut and paste, mainly because it's easier to justify a $905 touch-up if you can stretch it across 3 printed pages. When I first read that document, I thought that the $67.08 being charged for, quote, MG coolant was pretty rich. And it is, mainly because EVs do not generate waste heat like combustion cars do. So this has to be a battery cooling system additive for a much smaller heat rejection job than every combustion car on Earth. The most expensive combustion coolant that I could find is the red stuff, okay? And Penrite will sell you 5 litres of that for about $50. And that's full retail price. And it's going to come with 8 years and 500,000 kilometres of stated longevity. Therefore, it's a lot cheaper and doing a much bigger job for twice as long in a far more demanding environment than the comparatively anorexic cooling system in an MG ZS EV. But on reflection, having read it in toto now, the real touch-up here, that moment when you know it was such a bad idea to agree to a slow dance with the boss at the Christmas party because he's just slipped his hand down across your buttock and suggested that you get an Uber with him to somewhere more secluded where you might perhaps engage in an informal, what should we call it, bilateral performance review, and you can see over the horizon any chance of promotion just going up in smoke then and there, no matter how you respond to this quaint suggestion. Well, in this saga, that moment for me in this whole nasty business of one-way touching up is to be found on page 2 of 3. Quote, quantity 2, fluid-edu brackets 1 litre at $82.42 per litre equals $164.84. Jesus Christ, dude. That's exactly how it feels when that grubby hand encapsulates your left buttock. Celine Dion is belting it out across the dance floor, and all you can smell is despair and cheap cologne. See, this item of impenetrable dealership gibberish comprising nearly 20% of the entire fucking bill is lubricating oil for a thing that MG cleverly calls, in a masterstroke of grandiose overstatement, the EDU, or, quote, presumably, electric drive unit. Sounds like a complex precision thing, doesn't it? But stay with me on this because this is fucking outrageous. See, EVs do not need multi-speed transmissions like combustion cars because their electric motors produce a lot of torque at low RPM even when stopped, and they operate reliably across a wide range of rotational speed. But you can't really just stick an electric motor up the bottom of an axle and expect it to drive a road wheel 1-to-1 because the revs would simply be too high. So what you need is a simple one-speed reduction gearbox so that the electric motor revving in its sweet spot can deliver decent cruising speed and adequate torque. A happy side benefit of this is torque multiplication, which is why EVs feel so damn excellent when you nail that accelerator when the light goes green, like they do. But let me be crystal on this, okay? This is a simple thing. It's 2 helical gears in a fucking box. A fast input shaft on the motor, a slower output shaft connected to the wheels, no clutches, no multi-speed, no sensors, no torque conversion, no actuators, no springs, no computer, etc. It's 2 cogs on bearings spinning on shafts inside a fucking box floating in oil. Some car makers, including MG, can make complex transmissions like CVTs or DCTs or conventional epicyclic autos that are allegedly sealed for life. A euphemism that probably means in most cases like guaranteed to take a giant steaming dump in their trousers in 12 years or, I don't know, 200 or 250,000 Ks. Something like that. Oils in these complex multi-ratio transmissions are assaulted at every turn. They have to deal with contaminants related to clutch wear. They sometimes get extremely hot. There are hundreds of moving parts, but not so much with this 2 cogs in a box MG EDU widget. In fact, not at all. They can trot out whatever bullshit label they want for this fluid-edu. They can call it whatever TF they want, but I'd be most surprised indeed if it's not just a glorified conventional gear oil. And the going retail rate for that last time I looked is like $40 or $50 for 2.5 litres. And that is if you need oil that's also compatible with the assault brought upon it by a limited slip div. So not almost $165 for just 2 litres, which is what we're talking about here. That's a fucking insult, as is changing it so prematurely with just 40,000 frickin' Ks on the clock. Like, dude, come on. I'm certainly not sitting here alleging that MG is incapable of designing the simplest gearbox on earth and filling it with oil that might last for, I don't know, 200,000 kilometres of reliable motoring all the way along the superhighway of electric utopia, where we finally get under the rainbow and reach into the pot of net zero and hopefully don't find it empty like that. It probably is empty, except, might have a bit of CO2 in it. I'm going to allege instead that this is one of the underhanded ways that car makers keep their dealers sweet, right? By charging monumentally over the odds for things like oil. Oil, which in this case absolutely does not need replacement at 40,000 Ks. You've got to be kidding. The industry just sees people like Jano, like the vast majority of car owners who essentially know jack shit about cars. They see them as golden geese and they're all bound up with eggs and need to be relieved of that burden. To paraphrase the late and great Bon Scott, this is just a dirty deed done dirt cheap, right? And then it's encapsulated within a car dealer's customary 20 billion% markup in the service department, i.e., the same disgraceful, unconscionable conduct which we've come to expect with combustion cars. This is like $25 worth of oil in a $165 Wonder Bra. And the oil already in that shitbox ex-factory would have been good for at least another 60 or 100,000 Ks, right? Because this is the simplest gearbox on earth, operating in the most benign operating environment. So just right for an epic touch-up of this nature. Well done, MG. Textbook top 10 car maker conduct in Australia, right there. On the fast track to the top 3, you card-carrying